Well, hi everybody, it's DearMamaSal. And having a bit of a problem with my hair and the there we go. And the headphones. Right. So welcome everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and welcome to everybody who might be watching either here live or later on the replay. We are, as you know, a group of people that get together, and what we do is we help people cope with life. And so we do 3 different broadcasts a week. The first one on a Friday lunchtime is a learning one. We learn something more on a skill. We're working on emotional intelligence. And then the Friday evening one, we try to smile for a bit, but it's amazing how many times the smile one turns into something quite serious. And then the third one is on a Sunday where we totally tone everything down and we lower our vibration on our Soul Sunday broadcast. And if you haven't ever listened to one, it's a really good idea to do that. I've just out of interest checked my resting heart rate before I started my broadcast last Sunday. And by the time I'd finished it, it had dropped by, oh, with apologies, I managed to turn on my sound. Uh, but literally to drop by three points by the time I finished doing the soul broadcast. So I really do recommend it if you just need to slow your vibration down and just take life a little bit more easy. And so there we go. And for those of you who are not regulars, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some quotes about things that I hope will make you smile. And then if anything comes up for us, then we chat about it. But mostly the idea is that we should smile a bit. As for those of you who know the writer Isaac Asimov, he I so relate to him. He said, people who think they know everything are a great annoyance to those of us who do. How many of you going, yeah, that's so true? And then, oh, and then we have another one, which is from Charles Schultz, who is Peanuts, the guy who writes Peanuts. He said, I love mankind. It's the people I can't stand. I've always said there's only one thing that ever causes me stress: people not doing things my way. So, how many of you can relate to that? You know, life would be so much easier if everybody just did it my way. Right, really. Jody, I'm thinking about you and your transport. I mean, if they just had a Jody in there organizing it all, right, you would never have any more transport problems. And by the way, for those of you who like a bit of a smile, I got a note from a viewer this week. He's seen one of my broadcasts, and you know, apparently it's my nails for him, right? And it's just like, well, we know where his mind is, and it certainly isn't on the learning. Hi, Marie. Good to see you. All right, now this one. I don't know about you, but every now and then you read something and you go, I don't know who thought of this one, but it was great. Ron White said, I believe that if life gives you lemons, you should make lemonade. And then try and find somebody whose life has given them vodka and have a party. Yeah. And Robin Williams, bless his soul, Robin Williams said, I'm sorry, but if you were right, I'd agree with you. Yeah, I've had a few of those moments this week. Thomas Sowell said, it takes considerable knowledge just to realize the extent of your own ignorance. What do you think, people? How many people have you met that you could say that of? And then Ed Sheeran said, try and find someone with a sense of humor. That's an important thing to have, because when you get into an argument, one of the best ways to diffuse it is to be funny. You don't want to hide away from a point because some points are serious. But you'd rather have a discussion that was a discussion rather than an argument. We were talking about that at lunchtime today. For those of you who've ever had any problems with conflict, we were discussing conflict resolution. And, that is so true. Like, not every argument has to be an argument. It can be just a discussion or a debate. Marie, it's good that you're there, and I'm glad that you're safely at home with your doggy. Somebody once said that progress is man's ability to complicate simplicity. How many of you going? I think back. I don't know how many of my female viewers were originally trained to be secretaries or admin assistants or whatever they're called these days. But it always amazed me. Understand? I've lived a life where I came from literally the typewriter where you hit the keys like this, and then one of those, all the way through to today's computers. And what always amazed me during that incredible learning curve was that a boss would walk in and hand you a brand new electric typewriter about which you knew absolutely nothing, and presume that you were going to learn how to use it within, a nanosecond. I don't know if anybody here went through that, and if so, feel free to leave me a comment here or on the replay. But it was just like, and then the computer came in, and guess what? One landed on your desk, and they sort of went, "Okay, go at it," and you're going, "What the?" I'm lucky. I have one of those brains that I like to solve puzzles, because if I didn't, I don't think I'd ever survive those days. And when you think about it in your lifetime, I don't care how old you are, when you think about it, how much technology have you just sort of got it first and worked out how to use it later? It's what we do. Joan Rivers, bless her heart, said, life goes by fast. Boy, it did for her, didn't it? Life goes by fast. Enjoy it. Calm down. It's all funny. Next. Everybody gets so upset about the wrong things. I was saying at lunchtime today, for those of you who've been following my journey in selling my home and getting a new one, you will know that I found what I thought would be the perfect place for me. It had lots of air and lots of light and just the right size, and it sold today. Actually, it sold yesterday. And so apparently it's not the right one for me because it's gone. Yes, and Jody's saying the same thing. All right, very relatable. Here's your new word processor. Have your reports in by 5 p.m. tonight. Yes, like you're going to instantly be able to learn how to use that. How many of you thought you were fairly intelligent and then you got a smartphone? I can remember. It's funny, isn't it? I don't know if any of you have your version of this. I can remember when Benji and his friend Eddie came to visit me one time. And they were standing in my living room with their fancy new phones. And they kept saying, no, there's an app for that. And I'm going, what the? What are they talking about? There's an app for that? What does that mean? Then and it was just like, so a couple of years later, I found out. And boy, am I glad there is an app for that. And, I'm amazed now how many people I come across that are my age and still have no idea that there's an app for that. And when you say to them, hey, where's your phone? It's got an app for that. It's not even extra. It's probably in your basic package. And they're going, what? All right. So Joan Rivers said, part of my act and she has long since passed, but she said part of my act is meant to shake you up. It looks like I'm being funny, but I'm reminding you of other things. Life is tough, darling. Life is hard. And we better laugh at everything, otherwise we're going down the tube. Some of you have learned that lesson already, which is, really don't sweat the small stuff. It's just not worth it. It's going to, I was saying to some people at lunchtime, if you've got people around you that are nothing but drama and you don't want too much drama in your life, just, you have a way of sorting that one out now. Jodie's saying, I've been playing with a pic collage app and having such fun with my photos of Taylor. Taylor is a little fluff ball that she's got. And so, yes, some of the apps are really amazing. Animals are sentiment. There we go. There's one for you, Jodie. Intelligent, perceptive, funny, and entertaining. I think we'd all, if we've ever had an animal in our life, we would all agree with that. We owe them a duty of care as we do with children. Yeah. Have any of you had a really funny pet or animal in your life? I one of my favorite memories, for some reason, and I'm not quite sure why, I guess because it was so. Oh, I've just managed to. Just bear with me a second. Anyway, one of my favorite memories about animals being funny was I had a beautiful, almost black thoroughbred horse that I called Kermit. And I was watching Kermit in the field one day. Yeah, I was sitting on my deck watching him. And I saw him literally start going like this through the grass. And I'm going, what is he doing? And his neck was down and he was just very quietly walking through the grass and his tail was going, but you could see he was on a mission. And I'm going, what is he doing? And then after he got wherever he wanted to get to, he reared up. He was 16 one hands. He was a big horse. He reared right up and he hit the ground and snorted at the same time. And my 5 dogs all jumped up out of the grass. A horse snuck up and scared the living daylights out of my dogs. How many of you can see that vision? But, if I hadn't seen it, I would never have believed it. So did my horse have a sense of humor? I think so. For those of you who know that, Beth's granddaughter turned 1 yesterday, I believe. Anyway, so Johnny Depp said it's a funny thing when you see your daughter transitioning from your baby to your little girl to suddenly being a young woman. You're not really looking for it and you can miss it. And Lily Rose is on that road already, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. For any of you who've had children, I'm certain you'll smile for a second and go, that's so true. They grow so fast, don't they? And and you sort of go, how did I miss this? And I find when I go down to watch, go down and visit Julia and the twins, they're growing so quickly that every time I see them, it's like a lifetime of change in them. Ellen DeGeneres said that I've had everything I hoped for, but I wasn't being myself. So I decided to be honest about who I was. It was strange. The people who loved me for being funny suddenly didn't like me for being me. I can remember that time. I don't know how many of you remember that when Ellen first came out. And then she went very dark. We didn't hear from her for some time. And I am so glad that she came back and that she came back so strongly. and has done so well. I am literally very, very pleased that that happened for her, because I do think that, you know, she was guilty of one thing, and that was of telling the truth. And a lot of people didn't want to hear that. So I've managed to wipe my eyes, and then in doing that, I've managed to mess my eye makeup as well. I've got to stop doing that when I cry. Sorry, I've got a bit of a fever going on, and it's affecting. Anyway, where were we? It's funny that some of you will relate to this one as well. It's funny how social media was just meant to be a fun thing, and now it's a monster that consumes so many of our lives. How many of you have found that that is so true? You know, people used to be so patient. You know, they'd ask you for something and they wouldn't expect you to have it back at them within, you know, seconds. You know, I can remember being in business and somebody would ask you for a quote. They didn't mean like by the end of the day, they meant sort of sometime in the next week or two. And so to me, it's like, it's really interesting. Social media and all this technology have made us so impatient. That is what I found in my life. Everybody expects everything instantaneously. And I think we have less because of that, not more. NMM said, trust is hard to come by. That's why my circle is small and tight. I'm kind of funny about making new friends. I want to say that I am a lot like that. I can remember in my 20s, you know, I considered myself worth the number of friends that I had. I don't know if any of you relate to that. And, you know, it's funny because the older I got, the more I realized, you know, it wasn't about the number. It was about the quality, not the quantity. And so, you know, life has completely changed in terms of the number of friends I choose to have in my life. This is very true. If any of you are investors, hi there, Nolene, good to see you. If any of you are investors, it was said that the funny thing about the stock market is that every time one person buys, another sells, and they both think that they're astute. That is so true. W.C. Fields, who is from way back when, he said, if I had to live my life over, I'd live over a saloon. And Franklin P. Jones said, one of the advantages of talking to yourself is that you know at least one person is listening. I don't know if you ever have a serious conversation with yourself, or even a funny conversation with yourself. I find, how about when you make a mistake? How many of you, you know, really have quite a conversation with yourself when you make a mistake? Or, you know, or you go, gosh, I'm so glad nobody was watching that. Les Dawson said, I used to sell furniture. I sold it for a living. The trouble was it was my own. Anybody been there? Yep. Okay. Lana Turner said, you know, a successful man is one who makes more money than his wife can spend. And a successful woman is one who can find such a man. And Dr. Seuss, some of you will remember him, from there to here and from here to there, funny things are everywhere. I I really encourage you to find the funny things everywhere, because if we don't, life is really so serious and so tragic and so miserable. And if you can find beauty and humor in your everyday out of the silliest things, then you will have a happy life. Oh boy, excuse me. Um, Paul Simon, the songwriter, said, a musician, he said, I was eating at a Chinese restaurant downtown. There was a dish called Mother and Child Reunion. It was chicken with eggs. And I said, I've really got to use that one. And he did. How many of you remember that song? Mother and Child Reunion. So there's another thing, all right, in your life. When I used to be on stage, people, would really be laughing so that they were crying, and I would say to them, the funny thing is, I don't tell jokes. Why are you laughing so much? And, and because all I did was I found the humor in life and talked about it. And it's amazing how funny that can be if you are honest enough to tell the truth about what really happens in your life. And especially when they least expect it. I'd be I'd be wearing $1,000 suit, and and then interrupt what was a really serious speech by saying, has anybody ever really had one of those moments where they had to fake it and pretend that they were a lot more put together than people thought they were? And you could see, all these it was big, about 1,000 bankers or something, and they were all very serious people, and they were all nodding their heads and going, yes, yes. And I said, well, then you'll know how I feel, because I turned around and I lifted the back of the jacket of lifted the flap on my jacket, and the whole of my zip had popped apart, and it was held together with safety pins. And then I turned around again and dropped the flap back, and I said, but as in all things in life, act as though it didn't happen, and very few people will know that it did, unless you're stupid enough to advertise it. And it was just like, yeah. But the point that I wanted to make is, it doesn't matter how smart you are or how much they're paying you to stand up there and give a talk or whatever. Life happens. It's not just to you, it happens to us all. And you can sit and complain about it, or it's not fair, or I can't perform because my suit just fell apart. $1,000 suit and the zip gave. Can you believe it? But it was just, maybe it shrank. It's possible. Anyway, but it was just like, but it was a memory moment, a very human moment, yes. And to me, the human moments are really important in life. Like, if you have to, I have to go downstairs to go to my front door, and yeah, people ring the doorbell, and sometimes they're ringing it a second time before I get down there, and I'll open the door and I go, gosh, I'm so sorry I was so long. When I was 20, it didn't take that long. Because 9 times out of 10, the person I'm talking to is 20 years old. Hi, Nana, is 20 years old. So, it's like, it just takes me longer now. I can't run downstairs the way I used to. And Jerry Seinfeld said, it's amazing the amount of news that happens in the world every day, and it just fits inside the newspaper. I love the humor of that, but you'll be amazed how many people think that is true. That they find just the right amount of news. Or that the paper, the size of the paper is determined by the news. No, people, it's determined by the number of ads you've got. And therefore, some papers are getting very thin these days because it's not the way that it used to be. Samuel L. Jackson said, I tend to play. Oh, by the way, Nana, I know you've been following my downsizing journey. The property that I found and liked sold yesterday. So just so that you know, that is no longer in my fortune. So Samuel L. Jackson said, I tend to play characters that can infuse with a certain kind of humor. Even the baddest guy can be funny in his own peculiar way. I want the audience to engage with the character on some deeper level so that they leave the cinema thinking about him. And it's amazing, right? How you can actually, as an actor, you can actually bring personality to that character. Sometimes not even with words, just with the delivery of the words. How many of you can think of lines that you heard on a movie that that were actually quite serious, but you just broke up laughing? I'm thinking of are you feeling lucky today? You know, or the other one from oh, what was that other one? Go ahead, make my day. All right, which were not funny lines, but you know, when you heard them, I don't know if you can remember, but when you heard them, you burst out laughing because it was funny the way they were delivered. Clint Eastwood was really good on those one-liners, and I wonder whether, you know, they ever realized that they were going to be expressions. Or was it Rambo had one, didn't he? Oh, Schwarzenegger with "I'll be back." All right, it wasn't that the line was particularly right, was particularly brilliantly written. It was just the way in which he said it that made it memorable. And so I totally understand what Samuel L. Jackson is saying, that the delivery gave the character personality, and it's that personality that we remember. What was the one from Rambo? I know he had one. Trying to remember what it was. Anyway, so we've all seen movies where that one line. I remember Will Smith and Independence Day when he accidentally went backwards instead of forwards, and then when it went forwards, it took off like a you know what. And Will Smith saying, "Got to get me one of these," you know. And I thought that was such a human moment, right? So it gave the character personality. The question is, was it in the script? I wonder. Judy Garland said, I wasn't close to my father, but I wanted to be all my life. He had a funny sense of humor, and he laughed all the time, good and loud, like I do. He was a gay Irish gentleman and very good looking. He wanted to be close to me too, but we never had much time together. How many of you have seen? I don't. Is the movie out already? I guess it must be. Renee's thingy bob. Schwarzenegger. No, you know the word I'm trying to say. Anyway, she's playing Judy Garland. Oh, what is her name? One of you will type it for me, I'm sure. I just can't even say it. Never mind type it. Anyway, I believe that it's an Oscar-winning performance and a role of a lifetime for her, I'm sure. There's a saying that if you get something for free, you should know that you're the product. It was never more true than in case of Facebook and Gmail and YouTube. when you get free social media services and you get free funny cat videos, in exchange, you give up the most valuable asset you have, which is your personal data. How many of you agree? The price that we paid was our personal freedom. Zellweger. Zellweger. Yeah, I can never say her name. Somebody help me say it. Is it Zellweger or Zellweger? No, Zellweger. Renee Zellweger. Anyway, that lady. Apparently, she's done a great job of portraying Judy Garland. Yeah, there's one particular quote out of Rambo, and I wonder if I find it, I'll share it with you guys later. I'll put it on the what do you say on the notes for her. Which one of the many renditions? Renee Zellweger. I'm trying to work out. I think it's from the German, so it's probably Weger, not Wedger. Weger, Zellweger. But I could be wrong. Katharine Hepburn said, "Life is hard. After all, it kills you." And it's something else that I've said to people who said to me, who've said to me, "Well, I'm dying." I said, "I think we all are." Right? And again, I always find it interesting that people seem to think that they're going to die before I am. So I will ask them, do you have some direct line to God that I don't know about? Because, I have no idea if I'm going to make it through tomorrow, so I might as well enjoy today. Thank you, Jody. It is Zellweger. Yes. Weg as in beg. Thank you. That's what I thought. I love the way you wrote that. Thank you. You are a good communicator. John Kerensky said, "Being funny is one of my greatest strengths. I can make girls smile when they're down. And when they're having a good time, I can carry on the joke." Jim Carrey said this, and I'm not a big Jim Carrey fan, but anyway, this is funny. He said, behind every great man, there is a woman rolling her eyes. Frisbeetarianism is the belief that when you die, your soul goes up on the roof and gets stuck. All right, so how many of you could say this about yourself? The singer Pink said this of herself. She said, "I know my strong points. I work hard. I have talent. I'm funny. And I'm a good person." I challenge you, those of you who are in the room and those of you who may watch it later, can you sum up your life that way? Can you sum up your life in one quick sentence? Because if you can, you will live a very happy life. As some of you know, I wrote my own epitaph many, many years ago. I would think probably 30 years ago, I wrote my epitaph. What I wanted to have written on my tombstone, except I don't want to be buried, but what I wanted people to say about me after I'd gone. And literally what it was, "Here lies Sal, who cares enough to share, shared enough to make a meaningful difference, and by so doing, became a gentle giant inside." I didn't want it said I was rich or that I was super successful or whatever. I just thought that here lies Sal, who, by the way, the joke is that I wouldn't be lying there, but who cared enough to share and shared enough to make a meaningful difference. And to me, that's all I ever wanted, and that was like 30 years ago. I wrote that, and when I think about it, it's still what gets me going. It's still what makes me broadcast when my voice is going. It's just like I that to me is what I do. And if you know me, it's true. I was saying at lunchtime, somebody said to me, my realtor said to me, we've never had a client that cared so much about their tenant. And I just didn't go there. I didn't get sucked in. And I went, yes, it's true. And so, I look at it and it was just like, I know people judge me for the way I care, and I don't mind. Go ahead and judge me. It's not something that is going to upset me. But I'm talking about it because I could have taken it very personally, and I just went, "Yep, true," and I just moved on to another conversation. Thank you, Nana. That's very kind of you. Found a really nice property. All right. And dogs are allowed. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Nick Cannon said this about Mariah Carey. I wonder whether he still does. I hope so. He said that Mariah is a beautiful and talented person, and I've had a crush on her for as long as I can remember. Every day, my respect for Myra continues to grow higher. She is caring, warm, and a funny person. People have no idea how funny she is. I feel like I've always known she was my forever love. Isn't that beautiful that you can say that about the person you love? All right. And interesting, Nana's also saying that she's saying that everyone judged her for how she always cared for others and said she would get hurt. And I did. But it didn't stop me from helping the next person. There you go. You see, because that is who you are. And when you know who you are, it's like, yeah, I'll get judged for that, but I don't really mind. And people will say things to me like, "Why do you do the broadcast?" And I go, because it might make a difference. It gave you so much to see them happy. Yes, Nana, you've probably heard me say this many times before, which is I I get great joy out of hearing that in some small way I have helped somebody. It happened at lunchtime today. By the way, Nana, do you like my... Oh, am I going the right way? Hang on a second. Yes. Do you like my placemats? I've got two of them here. I don't know if you can see the other one. There you go. Had such fun with this. So then, Thomas Edison said that the chief function of the body is to carry the brain around. That's funny. And Henry Kissinger, who was Secretary of State in the Nixon years, I think, said, there just cannot be a crisis next week. My schedule is already full. It was, here's, for those of you who understand the emotional intelligence thing that I was talking about at lunchtime, I was asked to do a showing tomorrow. And as far as I know, not tomorrow, this weekend. And obviously I wasn't going to do a showing tomorrow because I didn't get enough warning for that. But I thought about Sunday and I thought, wait a minute, it's Thanksgiving weekend. Why would I do that to Yvonne? I know she's going to cook. And cooking isn't something that Yvonne does every day. And therefore, why would I ask for her to get the place ready for a showing when you're trying to cook Thanksgiving dinner? I don't know about the rest of you. That's a no to me. It's like I said, no, sorry. Do it next week. And I know that they're going to be told, well, that could have been a sale. Well, yeah, that could have been. See, you don't have to get sucked into it. All right. Mario O'Keefe said, "It's funny what a memory does." My favorite holiday tradition might not have happened more than once or twice because it's such a good memory, so encapsulating of everything I love about the holidays. And I keep in mind it happened every year without fail. All right. Nana's asking, how do you cook your turkey? What do you want to know? Do you do it on the barbecue or in an oven? What is it you want to know? What is it you need help with? Ah, Butterball Hotline. There you go. What a great idea, Jody. Everybody should have that on their contact list. It'll tell you. So, what do you want to know? What temperature? You've never done it? I'm trying to find out specifically. I know that you have not lived to your age, Nana, without successfully cooking turkey. So, what is it you want help with? The last 3 turkeys have failed. No idea why. Okay. Yeah, you did it right for 40 years. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So the chances are you are doing something different. Do you keep it covered? Yes, that's a great idea. Sharon saying use the roasting bags that are made by Reynolds. I have them as well. It keeps it moist. Yes. Okay, so I think this has a lot to do with it, Nana. I think you're just beginning to answer your own question. Nana's saying, I always had a huge turkey. Now it's a small turkey, no family. How many of you can feel the sadness that is around that for Nana? So, if somebody asked you to cook a dirty great turkey, you'd be fine. You're probably, yeah, a roasting bag is a really good idea. It's just it looks like it's plastic and that it will, melt, but it doesn't, and it just keeps self-basting, which is a really good idea. Um, if you, uh, I actually have done one. I've done one in my barbecue. Nana's really, I feel for you, Nana, because that must feel so difficult. She's saying, I have no idea. I can even ruin a big one now. So you're probably, yes, when you've got it cooked, you can just open up the bag and let it brown. But quite honestly, as I remember it, didn't it brown anyway? To some degree, but what it does is it self-bastes it. And that is the important thing. That's what keeps it moist. So I think what it would help, Dana, if you would tell us what it is that's going wrong. Are the turkeys coming out dry? What is the fail? Are they not cooked enough? What is it? Right. While we're getting that answer, let me carry on back on topic. George Carlin said that the weather forecast for tonight, dark. Yes, that's what I wondered. So it's dry. So yeah, a roasting bag will really help you. You can pick it up in this, when you go to the section that sells foil and plastic wrap and stuff like that. It'll be in there. And it's made by Reynolds, and it's a really good idea. I actually have used mine and reused them. So, and it's amazing actually how well they work. So give that a try and see if it helps. The other thing is that, if you are more successful cooking a big turkey, maybe go back to doing that. And so Sharon is saying she stuffs hers with celery, apples, butter, and onions. And then you put butter between the skin and the meat. Put the baking bag, put it all in the baking bag and cook it 25 minutes per pound. Check with Butterball to see if that's right. How much? Yeah, I think people overcook turkey. The other thing is, Nana, do you have one of those poultry pop-up things that tells you that it's cooked? Does anybody need me to go and get mine so I can show you what I'm talking about? All right, with less family, I stopped stuffing it. Well, there you go. That's what's different. All right. And you're probably cooking it for too long because it's smaller. Yeah. Yeah, I would think that's what it is. It sounds to me, if it's coming out dry, but the good news is if you use a roasting bag, make sure that before you unwrap that turkey, you check what the weight is, Nana. And just check with, Professor Google, how many minutes per pound you cook a turkey. All right? Because what Sharon said, I think it's 25 minutes per pound, but just make sure that you know. All right, that's good. Lily Tomlin said, I grew up in a time when women really didn't do comedy. You had to be homely, overweight, an old maid, and all of that. You had to play a stereotype because very attractive women were not supposed to be funny because it's powerful. It's a threat. So I can remember I went to a wedding once and in fact, it's happened to me a number of times at different weddings where people, the bride has come to me and said, Sal, could you get up and do your thing? And I'm going, what? And, could you get up and make people laugh? And I going, wish you'd asked me that before I had 3 glasses of wine. But, it's amazing how many people would ask me to do that. And it's got to the stage where if I go to a wedding, I start taking notes as soon as I get in the church because, the chances are it may happen again for me. But it's really strange where, literally at one wedding, somebody came up to me because at the time when the best man was meant to start doing his continuity thing, he chickened out. And he said, I'm really sorry. He said to the groom, I'm really sorry. I can't do this. I'm terrified. And he said, oh, don't worry about it. Find Sal. And he said, what? He said, find Sal. If there's anybody that can do this off the top of her head without even breaking a sweat, it would be Sal. And, literally they came to me and said, could you do the continuity for the speeches and everything? Because the best man just can't do it. And I went, what? Are you being serious? And I did. And by the way, the point that I was going to make was it's amazing how many people have come to me and said, you really should be a stand-up comedian. You are so funny. And I'm going, what makes you think I'm not? Does being a guest at a wedding mean that you're not funny? Yeah, Jody, it was a great compliment that they said that. And it's happened to me 3 times that I can remember, and probably more, where literally I'll be just about to knock back another glass of champagne, and somebody says, Sal, could you? And I'm going, you are being funny, aren't you? No, sir, could you, they think the room's a bit quiet and they need people to laugh. I had one person actually ask me to do the speech to the bride, which normally is a family thing, isn't it? Isn't it normally the father that does that? But one person asked me to do the speech to the bride, and I said, "Are you sure you want me doing that?" And they said, "Why?" And I said, "Because you know me, it won't be nice. It'll be a roast." And she said, "Yeah, but that's just what we need. This is way too serious, and we need you, Sal, to get up there and do your thing." And I literally started off by saying something like, "Where's the family? Where, who in the room is related to the bride?" you know, and then I'd say, "And who in the room knows me?" All right, because it's like try and explain to the family that what I was about to do was requested by the bride. you know, it's not that I chose to do this out of the blue. And I double checked to know that that she knew I was not going to be charming. And the funny thing was, I literally would go, I was her boss, by the way. That was the interesting thing. I'd actually been her boss, and I'd actually literally go, I don't know if she just showed this sort of stuff, this trait when she was working. It's possible that you guys that know her well didn't ever see this side of her. And then I'd say something, some quirky thing that she did, like turn around 3 times before she went into the loo or something. It wasn't that, but it was something weird. But, because it was something nobody else would talk about, the family just rocked back in their chairs. They were laughing so hard. And, I got a standing ovation from the family for the number of things that I pointed out. For example, I remember her telling me she was going to go on a trek to Nepal. And I said to the family, I said, I just want to, I know that you produced her, but I want to know who in the family was the intrepid traveler. I want to know where she got the idea that at 5 foot nothing, she couldn't, go trekking in Nepal. Because quite honestly, I didn't think she could make it, down a couple of blocks. So, but it's funny, when you tell the truth about things like that, it really is funny if you know the person. And to me, I find those things about people very amusing. I love to watch people's idiosyncrasies. It makes them who they are. And quite honestly, this 5 foot nothing little bride, and as I said at the time, I felt like, if you blew on her too hard, she'd probably fall over. So what was she thinking of going to Nepal? To tell me she's not going to do Everest. That's what I really wanted to know. When she told me she was going to trek Nepal, I said, just tell me you're not going to try Everest, right? If you get to Nepal, tell me you're not going to try Everest, please. Because it was like, or unless the Sherpas were going to physically carry her up, then that I could imagine. But yeah, really. Anyway, it's good fun. So I think what I want to say is don't be upset with your idiosyncrasies. Don't be upset by the quirky things you do. Because I'm pretty sure if you talk to your family and friends, it's those things that they love about you. All right? Does that make sense? It is what makes you you. It is what makes you unique. And I always sit and wonder, people give up their own private time to sit and join us for these broadcasts. Why? That's, you got to ask yourself that every now and then. Why do they do that? All right. And the answer, is as individual as the number of people who come and join the broadcast. I notice certain people come in on Friday lunchtime, certain people come Friday evening, certain people come on a Sunday. But the interesting thing is, why? And it's always been fascinating to me. Excuse me. Some of you will relate to this. Smile or laugh, and the world laughs with you. Snore, and you snore alone. Perhaps the greatest gift I have been given in my life is a CPAP machine that helps me breathe. I'm amazed that every now and then I will fall asleep without wearing it, especially like this afternoon. I had a quick cat nap. And I can really feel the difference when I sleep without it. I can feel that I'm not getting enough oxygen. For some reason, when I lie down, the back of my throat collapses and I stop breathing. But 15, 16 times an hour. So it's just like, I know when my brother was here, he wanted to see the Argentinian Grand Prix or something, and that was being run at 3:00 in the morning. So I said, well, you have to wake me up because the television is in my bedroom, and and so I said, you have to wake me up. And by the way, I wear a machine at night to help me breathe. And he said, why do you do that? And I said, well, they told me that I wake up 15 times an hour from choking myself to death. And luckily I do still choke, because if I didn't, I'd be dead. But then I wake up another 15 times an hour with restless leg syndrome. So, I wake up every 20, every 2 minutes. So I wear this machine and it pushes oxygen down into my lungs. And I'm very grateful for that because I actually get to sleep a lot better. So, hi, Niasha. Yeah, Jody, it's interesting, isn't it? I prefer you in my life as well. Isn't it interesting? I think we all need to see that. I said at the lunchtime broadcast that my relationship with Jody, who, as a lot of you know, is my admin, and our admin, and she reminds me of things that I need to remember. It is really interesting to me that I probably talk to her more than I do my closest friends. Because I very rarely have a day where I don't talk to Jody at least a few times. So isn't that strange? All right. So Brian Reynolds, the actor, said, it's funny because there's so many stereotypes out there about actors and movie stars in general. But I've had a great opportunity to meet a lot of them. And maybe it's just because they don't behave the way around me, but I rarely see that kind of abuse of power. One of the things that I found being in the YouTube community was when I've been to YouTube events, it's really interesting. There are two sorts of people. And one, I guess it's true of life, right? One sort is the very arrogant, I am the great so-and-so. You should be honored to be in my shadow. And then there are others that are just so down to earth. Judy being one of them. So down to earth, right? So unpretentious, just not big into her own self stuff at all. And it's amazing how different those two groups of people are. Jeff Garland said, there is only one true superpower amongst human beings, and that is being funny. People treat you differently if you can make them laugh. How many of you actually go out of your way during the week to find something to make you laugh? Right? Not that you have to have a belly laugh or whatever, but how many of you, part of your self-management, part of your self-care is to laugh? And if you're having a tough time, that you actually seek out something that will make you laugh. And if so, it's really good management, self-management. All right. It's really good for your skin. You use far more muscles to smile than you do to frown. It's really an important thing. Right. Nana's saying she seems to be able to make others laugh, but not yourself. I just, how many of you make yourselves laugh? I do things during the day and I go, I'm really glad nobody was watching that. Um, but, to me, it's like, it is part of my life, I think. Emma Watson said, ignoring fame was my rebellion in a funny way. I was insistent on being normal and doing normal things. It probably wasn't advisable to go to college in America and room with a complete stranger. And it probably wasn't wise to share a bathroom with 8 other people in a co-ed dorm. Looking back, that was pretty crazy. Emma Watson, can you imagine her doing that? Yeah, Jody's saying Sal makes me laugh every day. In fact, it's my mission to make Jody laugh every day. All right. And if I say something that I think might make her laugh, I will actually wait for her to type MA, which is mission accomplished. We got this little code where if I make her laugh, she will come back with mission accomplished. And, she's busy doing that to me as well. I think it's really important to make each other laugh. Sharon's saying she makes herself laugh probably daily. Yes, at yourself. It's easy, isn't it, if you go looking for it? And Nana's saying, like the October day when I went into Safeway with leaves stuck to the dog poo on my shoe. How many of you saw the day that President Trump walked up the stairs to Air Force One with toilet paper on the bottom of his shoe? And you're going, you'd think some aide would have stopped that before he did it. But on the other hand, some aide probably didn't do it before he did it. But it's just like, yeah, really. Yes, I agree, Nana, that anybody else who did that, they would have been so embarrassed. All right. And they probably would have cried, Nana says. Yeah, she was laughing. I think, when you can do that in your life, you are very, very lucky that you don't take life that seriously. Ariana Grande said, I can't stress to you enough how much I can relate to teens being cyberbullied. Something that helps me is looking at old videos of me and my friends from middle school or videos of my family. I love watching funny videos of my favorite people. It really cheers me up. How about the rest of you, right? For some of you, that might not be true, that your memories are not happy ones. But I would suggest make modern memories. How many of you can imagine that that 1 week I had with my brother, I realized that it might be the last week I spend with him. And so what I did was I said, I want to make it a memorable week. I want us to do things that I will remember. And there is no doubt in my mind, I will remember us going across the Capilano suspension bridge for whatever life we have left. Because even my brother looked pretty scared, I don't mind telling you. Gary Shandling said, but I really like hosting. I think it's a strength of mine. It always allows me to improvise. I love the spontaneity of that. I think I'm funny behind the desk when I interview somebody. For those of you who remember my early videos, I used to love interviewing people. I love meeting people, as you know. And I always find it fascinating to meet people and interview them. Tom Hanks said, if you're funny, if there's something that makes you laugh, then every day is going to be okay. And some of you know that to be true. Arthur C. Clarke said the best measure of a man's honesty isn't his income tax return. It's the zero adjust on his bathroom scale. How many of you can relate to that one? It's like, really? Did something happen to my scale overnight? It appears to be weighing a bit heavy today. Rose Kennedy said, I'm like old wine. They don't bring me out very often, but I'm well preserved. I didn't know she had a sense of humor. William Phelps said, if at first you don't succeed, find out if the loser gets anything. Oh, by the way, I believe that in January, the unfinished book of Jane Austen's called Sanditon, S-A-N-D, is coming to PBS. And if any of you like Jane Austen, whoops, hang on a second, let me get this right. Sanditon. It's a 7-part miniseries, or 6-part miniseries, I think. Anyway, just to let you know that it's they've actually dramatized it. It's, you know, Mr. Darcy all over again type thing. So for any of you who are romantic junkies and love Jane Austen, just to give you a heads up, it's around the corner. I think it's sort of like about 3/4 of the way through January that they started. Milton Berle, great comedian, said, we owe a lot to Thomas Edison. If it wasn't for him, we'd be watching television by candlelight. Yeah, you think? And talking about Jane Austen, prejudice is a great time saver. You can form opinions without having to get the facts. I've been there and done that. Oh, interesting. Oh, January the 12th on PBS. There you go. Thank you, Jodie. What would we do without her? We don't want to find out. All right. So Sanditon is on PBS on January the 12th. Mark it in your calendars if you are a Jane Austen fan. I'm not sure who. I haven't actually read whether they finished the story or they just told the story. That's interesting. But she was working on it when she died. So, but it's good. Donald Trump said at some stage of his life, you know, the funny thing is I don't get along with rich people. Yeah, you think? I get along with middle class and poor people better than I get along with rich people. You might want to ask yourself why. We're about to find out whether he still gets on well with everybody. All right, Alan Alda, a great quote here from, you know, the guy from MASH said, it's funny feeling to work with people who you consider your colleagues and you realize that they're actually young enough to be your children. That is so true. Isn't that amazing? That you're in the same league as they are or whatever, and they're young enough to be your children. Keanu Reeves, the actor, said, I had a classic 40s meltdown. I did. It was embarrassing. It was pretty funny, but then I recovered, and to me, it was like a second adolescence. Hormonally, my body was changing, my mind was changing, and so my relationship to myself and the world around me came to this assault of finiteness. How many of you, that have, any of you who've reached past 40, it is amazing what that does. I think reaching 50 does something else again to you. And then I liked reaching 60 because somebody gave me the greatest thing for my 60th birthday. And that was a little plaque that I keep in my kitchen. And it says, if you haven't grown up by the age of 60, you don't have to. And I got given some beautiful presents for my 60th birthday, and I had a big party to celebrate. But that little thing that probably came from a dollar store somewhere, to me was my most treasured gift. It was just like, boy, somebody just gave me permission not to grow up. How many of you need permission to just be a child every now and then? And I would encourage you to do that. It's a real challenge to maintain dignity while being funny. How many of you have noticed that a really funny comedian doesn't work at being funny? All right, they sort of it's like it's not that they mean to be excessively funny. They don't seem to work at it. It's just that they are. I've been always amazed how many people like to hear me laugh. All right, they find that infectious for them, and it's like people yawning, right? It's just like I've got a little emoji that I put up when I want to go to sleep, and it's a yawning emoji. And I want to tell you, I use it every day, and the joke is every day it makes me yawn. I am trying to tell other people that I'm yawning, and guess what? It just makes me yawn, and I'm going, I wonder whether it makes other people yawn the way that it makes me yawn. Oh yeah, I guess it's time. Now, for some of you who've been busy watching your diet and everything over the last few weeks, months, years, decades, I like this one. This one said, food is an important part of a balanced diet. It was so funny because yesterday, I was Jody had sent me something that is made a keto thing that she thought I might like to try, and I actually make my own flatbread now. And I made a flatbread, and then I put all the other bits on it. And when I looked at it, and I went, yes, but you start by making bread. That's the word, Sal. Bread equals carbs. That equals sugar. And, it was so funny. And the most amazing thing is when I checked my blood sugar this morning, it was fine. Right? It was just like you can eat the bad things as long as you know how much you can. No, potatoes are not keto. No, they're starch. No, so no, the thing is to try and keep those to a minimum. I actually still allow myself to eat potatoes, but I try and have them no more than once a week, and normally I have them on a Sunday. You'll be amazed the things that are not keto. But the thing is this, you do not have to go full keto. And that's the interesting thing for me. I'm just trying bit by bit to change my diet a little bit. I now know what I can eat for breakfast. You know, Jody, I'm pretty sure that oatmeal is not keto, but I know, you know, that it's okay if I can have oatmeal in the morning, and it's not going to dramatically affect my blood sugar. All right. So now the interesting thing, let me tell you what you'll be surprised at, Nana. You can do your own research on keto, but you know, you can have butter. Butter is okay. You can eat bacon and egg. Bacon and egg is perfectly okay on a keto diet. So you know, I actually at night I have fruit and pressurized cream because cream is okay. You know, it's funny the things you can eat. I remember Beth telling us that, you know, that the good fats and bad fats. So, you know, when I put the pressurized cream on there, I just say, well, that's keto. All right, so Kirsten Dunst said, every movie I do, I always use things that have happened in my life. Funny moments, anything. If it just sticks out, I'll write it down and use that too, because it's come out of you. But no one can work when they're depressed. I really think I'd physically be able to do it if I were, I don't think I'd be able to do it if I were depressed. How many of you, um, how many of you understand that it's life's real goods and bads that make life interesting? That's what gives you character. Nana's asking, is it working? Is what working? Is it working in terms of controlling my blood sugar? Yes, doing a great job. I am really quite amazed how I've got that. I've got the balance pretty well, and I know what to eat when I'm out now as well. You know, if I go out for a meal, I know what to eat that I didn't before. And also, you know, I've got Jody who, you know, has got a lot of experience of this, and she will always say if she knows I'm going out to lunch with somebody or out to dinner, she'll say, remember to enjoy every moment of it, you know, because you can adjust later. You know, if I really want lemon meringue pie, I'm not eating it every day. And so I even had a Mars bar recently. I was nearly sick from the amount of sugar, but you know, it was just like, it's not that I can't have it. I just can't do it the way I used to. I need to give my body time to process it. Some of you will laugh at this one, I hope. Joe E. Lewis said, I distrust camels and anyone else who can go a week without a drink. Yeah. And if any of you have ever, um, been um, in a workplace, you will know this one. A committee is a group that keeps minutes and loses hours. That's so true. You know, can you imagine? I was thinking, there was Roger Taylor said, of the Queen tributes, some of them are very funny and some of them are really not funny at all. The terrible ones are cheesy and panty-like, more about dressing up with a Brian May wig and a Freddie Mercury mustache. But what they're missing out is the fact that the music is quite complicated and actually not easy to perform. Of the Queen's tributes, right? We're talking about Queen, the band there. And there's a lot more to honoring Freddie Mercury than just trying to belt out one of his songs. I am really glad that Adam, what's his name? Adam Lambert, actually got that job to be the Queen frontman. I think he does it really well, and I think he put his own stamp on it without losing the Freddie Mercury type feel to it. So I really I'm so glad that he did that. I think everybody knew that he was destined to go far. The question was, would he stay in doing what he had previously been doing, or would he do something completely different? And I'm really glad that he got the job to front Queen, because I think he's really good at it. All right, bye, Devnana. So how many of you can imagine? I'm trying to think about a really long running show like Friends, for example. How many of you can imagine that, you know, if you're in a series like that that lasts a long time, that you probably end up that they are more your family than your own family, because you spend so many hours with them going through. I mean, one of the things that I thought really interesting was when I was reading about, you know, some of the problems that the actors had during the run of Friends, and how they stuck together and looked after one another. You know, and to me, it was like, it's a lot like what we do, right? Which is like, we come here to support one another and to catch up, to find out what people's lives are doing. And I think it's really important. And to me, I just think it's a wonderful process that we can go through together. Yes, Jodie's mentioning that the Friends group, the salary issues they went through. Yes, and it wasn't very many years in that they stood their ground on that one, right? And what they said, I believe I'm right in this one, Jodie, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that the players that were getting paid more had the decency to say, we are an ensemble cast. You know, Friends is Friends because of all these characters. Therefore, we should all be paid equally. I think I'm correct in that, right? And I think they set a standard that up until then had never been the case. And the other thing is, I often wondered, you know, like 2.5 Men, whether both the lead actors were paid equally. I don't think they were. You know, I think Charlie Sheen, in the days when he was still acting, not acting the maggot, but acting for real, I am certain he got paid way more than the guy that played Alan, whose name I forget. But, you know, really, Alan, I think, was as much a star of that show as Charlie Sheen. Not Charlie Sheen. Yes, Charlie Sheen, yep. So, John Cryer. Thank you, Jodie. You are a wealth of information. John Cryer. I hope he was paid equally, because he was such a stick in the mud. That's what made him so funny. And I think that is what, you know, we talked the other day about diametrically opposed. You know, the two characters were so different that it made it funny. And, you know, we all know Alan's in our life, right? We've all got that person in our life that is like that. Robin Williams said, if women ruled the world, we wouldn't have wars, just intense negotiations every 28 days. Yeah. Yeah, there's the truth in that one. And Roger Dangerfield said, the way my luck is running, if I were a politician, I would be honest. Wow, that's a difficult one at the moment, isn't it? Bill Burr said, it wasn't even that I'm a funny guy. I just loved stand-up comedy and wanted to do it. It was one of the few things in my life that I knew I was going to be able to do. And I also felt as though I'd be able to do it the way I wanted to do it. I want to say that to me is, you either have that in you, all right, that you can see the humor in things. I actually want to tell you that I listened to a speaker one time, and every joke he told, I knew where he had stolen it from. And I don't know about you, but that did not make him funny in my mind. There wasn't one original joke that he told. Every one of them I knew had come from, he lifted it from somebody else. And I thought that was really sad. And then, I know a lot of people like that who actually aren't naturally funny. They just plagiarize other people's work. I find that interesting. PJ O'Rourke said this: cleanliness becomes more important when godliness is unlikely. How many of you have had moments where you thought, this godliness thing, I don't think I'm making the grade on this one? I want to make a terrible confession. Yeah, really. Seeing as we're talking about this, let me make a confession. I went outside to go and do I'm trying to winterize some of my plants, and I went outside to do that, and there was a dirty great spider that had made a really big web between my umbrella on my deck and my house. That probably took him a while to spin that. But it was in the way of my path to where I wanted to go on my deck. And so, being the brave person I am, and some of you will see this picture, I took my big lifter type thing for my barbecue, the shovel type thing. I took that lifter thing, and I, as though I were a wizard, I was busy, going through the path, trying to make sure that spider hadn't put a spider web between me and where I wanted to go. And I did hit one of his web pieces. And I thought about it afterwards that I was a very bad person, but there was no way I could get to where I wanted to go without doing that. And it was just like, that's not very godly. That poor spider, I wonder how many hours he spent, just making the crust, getting across to where he wanted to go. And then Sal comes along and goes, do any of you see that picture? It was just like, poor thing. Anyway, so I didn't think I was very godly in that moment. And, but I did get where I needed to go. And by the way, I still ended up with cobweb all over me. Just so you know, life is true. It'll pay you back. Ricky Gervais said that, I don't care whether people say that The Office, that's the show, right, is rubbish. That's the English one. Extras is worse. Flanimals is a waste of time. He's not even funny. He never has been, and I hate him. I don't mind that at all. In fact, not only do I expect it, I celebrate it, because I think the haters are really important. Yeah, do you expect everybody to appreciate everything that you do? If you do, you don't live in the real world, I would say. Fanny Bryce, that's a long time ago, said that being a funny person does an awful lot of things to you. You feel that you mustn't get too serious with people. They don't expect it from you. And then they don't want to see it. You're not entitled to be serious. You're a clown. You see, I totally get that, right? I found that was when I performed a lot. Whenever I went to events or whatever, people would expect me to perform. All right. And that's why, I really found it, I don't know if anybody can relate to what I'm saying. That, just because you're funny doesn't mean that you always want to be on show. Just because you have that ability, all right, that quirkiness, that weird way of looking at the world, doesn't mean that you want to be doing it. I really feel for doctors and lawyers when they go to a social thing, because you and I both know that every time they do, everybody has their symptoms that they want to share with the doctor, or a legal point that they want to discuss with a lawyer. And so, part of being a performer is that people expect you to perform. And I think that is why a lot of performers are very quiet people when they're not in the eye of the public, right? They don't want to be performing all of the time. Hi there, Becca. Good to see you. Tommy Cooper, a very famous British comedian, absolutely wacko guy, but very funny, said, I went window shopping today. I bought 4 windows. Isn't that truth? So the next time you hear somebody say, I went window shopping, just look at them, with the absolute straight face and say, how many did you buy? And they go, no, I was joking. I was window shopping. You go, yeah, I know that. I was joking too. Yeah, I thought it was funny too, Becca. I'm glad you liked it. All right, I'm just trying to find. Not all of these are repeatable, you understand. I like this. Don Harold said, there's one thing about baldness. It's neat. Yeah, but Becca, that's what makes it funny. All right. I agree with you. Becca's saying she doesn't think she could pull off the straight face for too long. You don't have to do it for too long. You just go, really, you went window shopping. How many did you buy? And just hold it. It's like that moment before the that moment before the commercials or whatever, where the actor has to sort of stay frozen. And then you can crack up. You just need the moment, Becca. It's called timing. All right. You don't have to stay serious the whole time. then you can crack up. And as I think I quite often, when people say to me, "It's so nice to meet you," I go, "Really? How do you know? You've only just met me. How do you know it's nice to meet me?" And then, when I leave, it's amazing how many people say to me, now that you've been here all evening, I just can tell you that it still is nice to meet you. And I will say, I wish I could say the same. Bye. Yeah, I think you would be a horrible poker player, Becca, right? Yeah. The trick is to bluff and double bluff, right? It's I actually had reason at one time in my life, Becca, to play a very high stakes poker game. And when I say very high stakes, everybody at the table was a millionaire. I'm not joking. And I was actually dating one of them. And I remember him saying, Sal, would you like to join in? And I was a rookie poker player. But what they didn't know was I wasn't altogether stupid either. And, you know, the funny thing was that I can remember literally, first of all, and you need to know that I wasn't playing with my own money, what made it much easier. And he just handed me a whole stack of money, and I'm going, play money, Monopoly. And it was so funny because I played a couple of hands, and that was fine. And then I got what I thought was a fairly decent hand. And so the thing was going around, and the money started to go up quite a bit. And they all knew I only had about 30,000 that I was playing with only. And so at one stage I went, okay, this is a little bit difficult, but I'd like to go all in on this one. And, you could see them all going, seriously, do you want to be doing that? And I said, I know, but it's fun. I may never get a chance to do it again with 30,000. So I'd really like to go all in. And guess what? I won the hand. Nobody expected me to have a hand that would do that. And nor did they expect me to know that I had a hand that would do it. And, I could have lost the whole lot, but I assure you that the person who handed me the money knew how much money he had and knew how much he was putting on the line. You see, he wasn't stupid. And he said to me, enjoy playing with it. In other words, don't worry if you lose it. So I didn't. I did. I really enjoyed playing with it. Money, give me the chips. By the way, at the end of the evening, you probably can gather that I made him quite a good return on his money. I think I made him about 400% return on his money that he gave me. Now, the question is, and that's the question I would ask you, if somebody handed you 30,000 to play with and you ended up with over 100,000, in fact, over 120,000, I think I ended up with, what would you do with the money? That is the question. All right. So the question is, what would you do with the money, with the winnings? Because you probably are not surprised to hear that I took the 120 plus thousand that I won, and I handed it back to the person who lent me the 30,000. And he said, no, Sal, you won that money. It's yours. And I went, no, I would never have won that money if it had been my own money. So therefore, thank you so much for the fun. I really enjoyed it, but there's your money back again. All right. You see, I didn't see that any of it was my money, Becca. I understand that you would share it, right? If you had, I realized it wasn't my money to keep. That would not be ethical in my view. Does anybody understand what I'm saying here? He had given me 30,000 to play with, and I played with it, and I enjoyed playing with it. The fact that I won with it, to me, was not the point. I handed it back. I have another thing that happened to me once in my life where I was in a big 50-50 draw at an event. And, when it was like the prize ended up being, it was a charity event that I went to, and they had a 50-50 draw. And I won. right? And I went up and they gave me $500 plus that I had won on this draw. And I took the money and thanked them and thanked the audience that were all applauding and everything else. And then I quietly handed them back the $500. And they said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I really enjoyed winning it. Thank you. But this is a charity event. I'd like to give it to the charity." And they said, "No, Sal, you won that money. It's yours." And by the way, I was struggling to pay the rent that month. In the days when I paid rent. And, I just said to them, "No, this is a charity event." And I had fun. I came in here with this in my life, and I am not going to be losing out if I leave with the same amount in my life. I do not need this money to make me feel good or rich or famous or whatever. So this is a charity event. I now have just made money that I can now donate to the charity. $500 more than I already did. And they all just rolled their eyes at me and thought I was pretty insane. Here's the funny thing: 2 years later, same charity, different event, obviously. And guess who won the 50-50 draw? Again. And as they went to hand me the money, the guy looked at me and said, "Sal, don't hand it back. Don't hand it back." And I said, "You've really got a problem with that, right?" And I took the money and I thoroughly enjoyed receiving it, and then I donated it back. You see, that made me happy. That's who I am. Am I making any sense to anybody? Or do you all think I'm absolutely stark staring bonkers? I don't really mind if you do. But to me, there was sense in that. And it gave me great pleasure. Well, that's very kind of you to say, Jody. Jody's saying, if I can ever be a portion of what you are in this life, I'd be a happy girl. I think you already are way more than a portion of who I am, and maybe way more so, Jody. Um, but the truth is, understand that if it makes sense to you, that's all that matters. Whether the rest of the world thinks you're being stupid is not the point. Yes, and Becca's saying you're only a little bonkers, but that's what keeps everything interesting. Thank you, Becca. You see, that's the point I'm trying to say. It is our idiosyncrasies that make us interesting. It's not the way we're all the same, it's the way in which we differ that makes us interesting to people. Why do some people really love some of the things you do, and other people, just can't understand it? I don't mind. I'm just grateful that some people appreciate it. And I understand that some people think I'm far too caring about my friends. Hi, kitty cat. Meow. Becca's saying that her cat is watching. So what I'd like you to do, when you're thinking about smiling a bit more this week, is to think about, I choose to see funny things, right? I don't know about you, but if I'm walking and I see an ant, I try to imagine how I must be a huge giant to that ant. Think about that differential between an ant and my, 5'7" or maybe 6.5 now. And it's like, I think about that and I laugh and I go, "Okay, ant, it's your lucky day. I'm going to try not to stand on you." And I will tippy-toe to get over the ant so that I don't stand on it. And how many times does the ant run in the wrong direction and end up under my foot? And I go, "I tried, ant, really." I really did try. Now, the spider, for those of you who saw the picture of me and the spider and the web, I did apologize out loud to the spider. I don't think that he forgave me, quite honestly, but I did apologize. And, it was like, I'm going to mess with your day, and I am sorry, but you chose, as Jody sorry said, you chose the wrong place to put your artwork. If you'd taken your web on the other side, I would not have needed to mess with your artwork. It was just, it was just where I needed to walk, and I'm sorry about that. But I kept thinking, how long had that poor spider spent trying to and I tried to work out where the initial web started because I think it was pretty high up. Amazing how they do that. Richard Dawkins said, now listen to this one, people, because it's important. Originality is, no, sorry, he didn't. Richard Dawkins said, by all means, let's be open-minded, but not so open-minded that your brains drop out. And so the reality of life is that we are going to have a lot of fun this week if we choose to find it. All right. I say and try to make sure everybody remembers that fun is what we make of life. It is not naturally there. Laughter is what we choose to laugh at. Kindness is what we choose to give. And so, I have a quirky way of looking at life, and I find some people enjoy it. That is a gift to me, that some people enjoy it. But it's the same thing like my art, right? Some people will look at my artwork and go, what did she do there? Other people will see it as a piece of art. See, to me, it doesn't matter. I don't do artwork for any other reason than it gives me great pleasure to do it. And whoever knew that I could create that sort of art, with a blow dryer, it's pretty impressive to me. So, to me, it's like, I said to my realtor, the reason I want my house sold, other than the fact I'd like to get my money out, is because I want to go back to painting. I can't make a mess because I have to keep my, place fairly tidy. So I can see humor in that, right? And there's part of me that goes, any minute now, I'm going to just have to make a mess. Oh, that is so cute. I can't remember your correct name, Mulberry McWomp. I know you've been here before, so forgive me on this one. She said, I imagine us 7 people huddled around DearMamaSal on a carpet around her armchair. Isn't that an amazing picture? Yeah, that tells me you might think that you think I might want to say something intelligent, which I doubt. Well, it's good to see you. I don't know how long you've been in the room. So my question to you all is, what are you going to do to make yourself laugh this week? All right. You've obviously come here and hopefully we've given you a smile or two, but, make sure that part of your mental health, part of your self-caring is that you laugh every day. And if nobody has made you laugh or you haven't been in a space to laugh, make sure that you watch something. We are so fortunate today to have so much on YouTube and all the other programs that we have. Make sure that you watch something every day that makes you laugh. I was saying to Jody that it's that time of the year that any minute now, we're going to be watching, yet another eligible prince from Europe fall in love with some person who doesn't know he's a prince. It's that time of the year when all the Hallmark movies about Christmas come out, and it always, yeah, Snowflake Falls or Heartland Hills or have you noticed that all the towns are so beautifully named, right? Fall Falls, Autumn Falls or whatever. And, to me, I just said to somebody, that isn't it amazing, that I lived in Europe and didn't know that whether there were that many eligible bachelors, lying around there or walking around there. And, it's, I find watching them is really amazing. Hang on one second, people. I just need to let Benji know that I'm broadcasting because he will want an answer. All right. Of course, now I can't type to save my life. All right, so yes, one of the things you're saying that your kitty cat's been so good for your mental health. Yeah, unconditional love does great things for us all. So remember, though, that you are responsible for your attitude and the way that you think. It's not somebody else's job to make you happy. It is your job to make you happy. It is your job to make sure you smile. It is your job to find humor in things, even though you don't want to. And it is also, if you can think about this, that my mental health also, hi there, Isabel, also makes me grateful for things. All right, walk around your life tomorrow and be grateful that you have so many things in your life. I was grateful that I actually emptied out my cupboard this week and changed over to my winter clothes. I hadn't expected to, but I found out it was time to bring the winter clothes in. And so all the summer clothes are put away. And I was thinking, boy, aren't I lucky to have this many clothes? And so I automatically donated some because I do that every season. So be grateful, be funny, make sure your friends know what you care about them. I say that so much to people, which is make sure your friends know not only that you love them, but why you love them. All right. I want to say, Jody, I will probably in a lifetime never be able to thank you enough for being our admin and caring for everybody the way that you do and help me remember the things I need to remember. There aren't really words for me to express that. But the truth is that you need to know that, and you need to know that it is appreciated. And so we all do things that we don't necessarily realize make a difference in other people's lives, or we don't realize to what degree. And so when you meet your friends this week, I'd like you to say, I know that I care about you, but I just want to make sure you know why, what it is about you that I appreciate. And if you can do that to your family and friends for a week, you will be able to laugh a lot more with them. And you will also be able to appreciate them at a different level. Because to do that, to be able to tell them what you appreciate, means that you've taken the time to think about it. And that is important. Take the time to think about it. And be duly grateful. Oh, I forgot to do one very important thing. Jody just got fired. Well, maybe not. Maybe she did tell me to do it and I forgot. Okay, let me do it right now before I close. For those of you who are into this, Easter is 6 months away. Yay! Spring, 159 days. Yes! Valentine's Day, 4 months away, which makes Christmas 74 days away. Have any of you finished your Christmas shopping yet? Think about that. It's 74 days away. I think I've nearly finished mine. Thanksgiving for Americans is 1 month and 17 days away. Yeah, you're fired, Jody. That's it. 20 lashes with a wet noodle, Jody. But I took my personal responsibility. Americans, you've got 1 month and 17 days to Thanksgiving, so start giving thanks right now. By the way, for Canadians, happy Thanksgiving for this weekend. And for those of you who want to know, Sal, what about daylight savings time? You have 22 days until winter isn't coming anymore. 22 days, winter will have arrived. Yeah, 74 days until Christmas. Scary, right? Ah. And by the way, for those of you who have family and friends overseas, the recommendation is that you get those cards out by the first week of December, which means get those cards written before the end of November. All right, so that you can put them in the mail at the beginning of December. Yes, Becca, it's my least favorite season, winter. I don't do winter, as I think all of you know, which is why I start counting down to spring as soon as we get this far into fall. And let's be honest, I am delighted we only have 159 days to go until spring. It's on its way. And, I always celebrate the longest night of the year, which I think is December the 21st, because I know that we are then definitely on the right side of heading into spring. You know what I mean? I literally go, well, goodbye, winter. We're now heading into spring. Even though it takes a little while for that to happen, I can sort of, feel that, okay, the days are going to get, by minutes, they're going to get a little lighter every day, and we're heading on our way back to spring. The snowdrops will be coming out, and I'll, go, ooh, another sign that spring is on its way. So I find enjoyment in that, as you know, and I know some of you travel that journey with me. So I try to make the things I don't like fun for myself. So smile, that is your choice. Part of being emotionally intelligent is to know that smiling is a choice, that finding humor in things is a choice. Making yourself laugh is a choice. And when you choose to add those things into your day, you will have had some self-care that's really, really important. Some days will be easier than others. I know that. So look after yourselves, please. I will see some of you on Sunday for our Soul Sunday, and I look forward to that as well. If you have any topics you'd like me to talk about, we've decided that next week we're going to be talking about forgiveness. That was something that came up at the lunchtime broadcast. So we'll see you on Sunday. Have a wonderful weekend. Until then, for all the Canadians, enjoy Thanksgiving. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, thank you for being here. Thank you for helping one another. Remember to continue to help one another, but please, 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 above all else, make looking after yourself a really high priority. Bye for now.